So if you are unrolling your yoga mat today, like
Yeah.
right now, with the intention of getting a good sweat.
Yeah, or burning off breakfast.
Right, exactly.
Hmm.
Burning off breakfast or just pushing your muscles until they literally shake. Well, you are actively, and I mean actively, working against the entire purpose of the human body's internal operating system.
Which is such a massive paradigm shift. I mean, it is a complete misallocation of resources.
Oh, for sure.
You are basically taking a tool designed for one highly specific, nuanced physiological function, and, well, you're using it as a blunt instrument.
Which, it makes sense why we do it. Because think about the cultural script we have all been handed here in the West.
Right, the whole fitness culture.
Exactly. You step into a modern yoga studio,
Yeah.
and what do you see? You see wall-to-wall mirrors.
Mhm.
You see people strapping on, like, Apple Watches and heart rate
So
monitors.
tracking those calories.
Right. And you see infrared heaters cranking the room up to 100 degrees so that you physically cannot avoid sweating.
It's forced exertion.
It really is. Because in our world, movement equals fitness, and fitness equals fatigue. We want to see the physical evidence that we worked hard,
Yeah, if we aren't sore the next day, we just feel like we completely wasted our time.
I mean, we treat the human body as a combustion engine.
That's a great way to put it. We really do. We assume the only way to improve the engine is to just rev it to the red line.
Right, burn the fuel.
Burn the fuel and force the mechanical parts to adapt to all that stress.
But what if that entire lens, the whole way we view this ancient practice in the West, is not just slightly skewed, but fundamentally upside down?
Completely inverted.
Yeah, what if the fitness we are constantly chasing on the mat is actually destroying the profound internal work the postures were originally designed to do?
And that is exactly the friction we are getting into today.
It is. We are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating transcript from a video titled, "Is Yoga a Good Replacement for Fitness Exercises?"
Such a direct question.
Right, and it's from the YouTube channel The Blind Muslim Yogi. The creator, Osman, he's an energy healer, an entrepreneur, and a longtime yoga and meditation teacher.
And his perspective is just incredibly disruptive.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it completely strips away all of the commercialized, aesthetic-driven assumptions of the modern wellness industry.
Yeah, the whole gym culture mindset.
Exactly. Osman just bypasses that entirely. The whole mentality of selling fat-burning classes and, core sculpting flows. He returns to this ancient, deeply energetic understanding of human anatomy.
Which is wild because he is asking us to look past the visible musculoskeletal system entirely.
Right, to analyze the invisible architecture that actually keeps us alive.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because he answers the titular question of his video, is yoga a good replacement for fitness exercises? Immediately.
And bluntly.
Very bluntly. His answer is a definitive no.
No, just flat out no.
He explicitly states that yoga is not designed to be a fitness model. Now, he does acknowledge that there are fitness benefits.
Sure, like increased flexibility.
Yeah, or a bit of physical toning as a byproduct.
Yeah.
But he argues the true targets of a yoga practice are the reconditioning of your internal organs and your vagus nerve.
And to understand why that matters, we really have to look at the severe limitation of Western fitness as a whole.
Which is what, exactly?
Well, our entire paradigm revolves around the external body.
Right.
We measure health by, the circumference of a bicep or the visibility of abdominal muscles.
Or cardiovascular output on a treadmill.
Exactly. We are just obsessed with the superficial shell. But Osman points out that true yoga operates almost entirely on the internal infrastructure.
The hidden stuff.
Right. So when he mentions the internal organs and the vagus nerve, he is talking about the autonomic systems, the systems that govern our baseline of survival, our stress response, and cellular recovery.
I really want to linger on the vagus nerve for a second here, because I feel like this is where the ancient practice actually meets modern biology.
Oh, for sure. It's the biological bridge.
Right. For any of you listening who aren't familiar, the vagus nerve is effectively the superhighway of our parasympathetic nervous system.
For rest and digest mode.
Exactly. Rest and digest. It controls our heart rate, our digestion, our immune response, our ability to calm down after a stressful event. It is the exact biological opposite of the fight or flight sympathetic stress response.
Which perfectly illustrates the core conflict here.
How so?
Well, think about mechanical fitness. Running, lifting heavy weights, high-intensity intervals. All of that imposes a healthy, necessary stress on the body.
Right. It triggers the fight or flight response on purpose.
Exactly. It intentionally triggers that sympathetic response. It damages muscle fibers so they grow back denser. It forces the heart to pump harder so the cardiovascular system becomes more efficient.
Exercise is by definition a stressor.
Yes. And yoga, according to Osman, is not meant to be a stressor. It is an internal harmonization process designed specifically to stimulate that vagal tone.
So wait, if you are taking a yoga class and trying to turn it into a high-intensity workout,
You are sending deeply conflicting signals to your nervous system.
wow. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
putting your body into the posture designed to trigger parasympathetic healing, but you are physically straining so hard that your brain is just pumping out cortisol and adrenaline.
It's like trying to hit the gas and the brakes on your car at the exact same time.
That is such a good analogy. You end up, what, stripping the gears?
You absolutely strip the gears. If you are using yoga just to stretch your hamstrings or get a light sweat, you are completely misusing the tool.
You might be making the shapes, but you aren't actually doing yoga.
Precisely.
That makes me think of another analogy. It's like buying a multi-million-dollar quantum supercomputer, installing it in your office,
And only using it to play solitaire.
yes, only using it to play solitaire. I mean, sure, it can play solitaire. The cards will move on the screen.
You're getting a tangible result.
Right, you get a result.
Yeah.
But you are completely missing the machine's true power. Its ability to process complex data, run vast simulations, solve massive structural problems.
And the sad thing is, we see the supercomputer being used for solitaire everywhere today.
Oh, everywhere.
People go to a power yoga class, they blast the heat, they move through these rapid, exhausting sequences with absolutely no focus on breath or internal state.
And they walk out saying, wow, what a great workout.
Right. But Osman's framework suggests they didn't do yoga at all. They did calisthenics using yoga shapes. Because true yoga is not a practice of physical exertion.
So what is it?
It's a practice of toning the subtle energy systems.
Okay, I have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Because to a modern listener, especially someone really grounded in a Western scientific worldview, the phrase subtle energy systems can sound, well, a bit like pseudoscience.
It sounds mystical.
Yeah, it sounds super mystical. If yoga isn't toning the physical muscles, what is the actual mechanism he is talking about? Like, what is it interacting with?
Well, that requires shifting from a purely anatomical viewpoint to the broader framework of human composition that Osman actually lays out.
The 5 layers.
Exactly. He argues that we are not just a single solid block of meat and bone. He details 5 distinct levels or sheets of human composition.
And the interaction between these layers answers that exact question about the underlying mechanism.
Right.
So let's walk through this hierarchy. Because understanding these 5 layers really seems to be the linchpin to Osman's entire argument.
It is the foundation of everything he teaches.
He starts at the bottom with layer 1, which is the physical body.
And the physical body is the shell. It is the hardware.
It's what we see in the mirror.
Right, what we see in the mirror, what we feed, what we put on the treadmill. And honestly, it's what modern medicine primarily focuses on treating.
For most people, this is the beginning and the end of the conversation about health.
Absolutely. But Osman says layer 2 is the subtle life force energy.
Okay, and crucially, he states that this subtle energy is what actually controls the physical body.
Yes.
How should a modern listener, conceptualize that?
Think about it in terms of bioelectricity in the nervous system. The physical tissues of your body, your heart, your lungs, your muscles, they do not operate autonomously.
Right, they need a signal.
They require an electrical impulse. So the subtle energy Osman refers to can be viewed as the vital animating current that runs through the hardware.
That makes a lot of sense. So when you feel burnt out, your physical muscles might be perfectly fine.
Your blood work might look totally normal.
Right, but your capacity to function is just depleted.
Yeah.
Your subtle energy is drained.
Exactly. Osman is positing a very specific causality here. The subtle energy is the commanding force that dictates the state of the physical body.
So the body doesn't generate the energy,
No, the energy animates the body.
which completely upends our standard fitness philosophy. We usually think our physical body generates our energy.
Right, like fuel in a tank.
Yeah, like I eat a bowl of oatmeal, my stomach breaks it down, and suddenly I had the energy to go for a run.
But Osman is saying the physical body is just the trailing indicator. The subtle energy is the blueprint.
That is profound. And that leads us to the layer above it, which governs that energy. Layer 3 is the mind, or the conscious intellect.
And Osman states that the mind controls the subtle energy.
This is a fascinating chain of command. The mind dictates the flow of energy, and the energy dictates the state of the physical body.
It implies a strictly top-down approach to human health.
It really explains the profound reality of psychosomatic illness, doesn't it? And healing, too.
It absolutely does, because if the conscious mind is trapped in a state of, say, chronic anxiety or fear,
Which so many of us are.
right, if it's trapped there, it restricts and distorts the flow of the subtle energy, and then that restricted energy manifests in the physical body as tension.
Or poor digestion. Or a suppressed immune system.
Exactly. True healing, therefore, cannot just happen from the bottom up. You can't just treat the physical symptom if the mind is continually telling the energy to operate in a state of distress.
I find it so interesting that Osman mentions learning the art of the mind controlling this subtle energy is exactly how one becomes an energy healer.
He frames it as a learnable, structured skill.
Right. You train the mind to direct the energy, and the energy then heals or optimizes the physical form. But, those first three layers, the body, the energy, and the conscious mind.
Those are the ones we interact with daily.
Yes. The next two layers are where this gets incredibly deep. Layer 4 is higher intelligence or intuition.
And Osman notes that in the average person, this layer is completely dormant.
Dormant. That word is critical here.
It really is. It isn't missing, it isn't broken, it is fully intact and functional, but it is asleep.
It's just sitting there.
Yeah. It is an entire capacity for profound insight, pattern recognition, and deep intuitive knowing that remains entirely unaccessed by the vast majority of humanity.
Simply because the lower three layers are in such a state of chaos.
Precisely.
Hmm.
And finally, layer 5, the soul or the bliss body. He describes this as the absolute highest level, representing full self-actualization.
When you lay out this 5-layer structure, physical, subtle energy, mind, higher intelligence, soul, it paints a staggering picture of human potential.
It does. It also exposes how incredibly short-sighted our modern obsession with physical fitness really is.
Oh, completely. We're spending 100% of our time, our money, our focus, renovating the ground floor of a 5-story mansion.
Completely ignoring the fact that we have 4 other floors with breathtaking views.
Right. And we've simply locked the doors to them. It makes you wonder, is our cultural obsession with physical appearance and gym culture actually a symptom of being profoundly disconnected from those higher layers?
That is a very sharp observation.
But are we hyper-focused on our physical shell precisely because we have zero relationship with our subtle energy, our intuition, or our bliss body?
We feel this deep void, this existential emptiness.
Yes. And our instinct is to try to fill it by doing more squats or running a marathon or tracking our macros obsessively.
Because when the mind and the subtle energy are chaotic and unharmonized, we feel intensely out of control. We feel overwhelmed by life.
And what is the easiest, most tangible thing to control?
The physical body. We can control exactly what we eat. We can control how many miles we run. It gives us a temporary illusion of mastery.
But Osman is saying that yoga is the ancient technology designed to give you actual mastery over the entire 5-layer stack.
Because he says yoga specifically targets those upper layers. It seeks to quiet the chaos of the mind, harmonize the subtle energy, and incrementally awaken that dormant higher intelligence.
Which brings us to a metaphor he uses that I think is absolutely brilliant.
The power saver mode.
Yes. He says that because those top 2 layers are completely dormant and we're only operating on the chaotic lower 3 levels, average people are literally living on power saver mode.
It is the perfect modern technological metaphor for an ancient spiritual diagnosis.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, think about your smartphone. When the battery drops below 20%, what happens?
The screen dims.
The screen dims, the processor throttles down so everything takes a little longer to load.
Certain background apps are just suspended.
Exactly. The phone is still technically functioning. You can make a phone call, you can send a text message, but it is artificially limiting its own capabilities just to survive the day.
And Osman says we have 95% of our potential lying dormant.
We are walking around with dimmed screens and throttled processing speeds, completely unaware of it.
We just assume that this sluggish, reactive, limited state is just the normal human condition.
We think that's just how life is.
Right. And if we expand on that analogy, think about the background apps running in the human mind.
Oh, like chronic financial stress,
Unresolved emotional trauma,
shallow breathing patterns.
constant digital distraction. These are all apps running in the background, constantly draining our subtle energy battery.
So because the battery is constantly low, the system is forced to remain in power saver mode.
The higher intelligence and the bliss body are shut down because there simply isn't enough energetic current available to power them.
So we try to fix this power saver mode with physical solutions. We drink 3 cups of coffee.
We take a handful of supplements.
We go for a punishing run to flood our system with endorphins just to feel awake. But you cannot fix a software limitation with a hardware patch.
Exactly. If your phone is in power saver mode, putting a new screen protector on it doesn't change the processing speed.
No, it just looks a little shinier.
You have to go into the settings, change the operating system parameters, and literally plug the device into a power source.
And that is the function of yoga in Osman's framework.
It is not about burning calories. It is about system optimization. Yoga comes in as a tool to close all those unnecessary background apps in the mind.
It clears the internal pathways of the subtle energy.
It reduces the internal friction.
And when those 3 active layers, the body, the energy, and the mind, are no longer fighting each other, the battery finally starts to charge.
Precisely. When the mind isn't stressing the energy, and the energy isn't depleting the physical body, you naturally experience greater physical resilience.
Improved decision-making capacity.
And profound emotional balance. The power saver mode switches off because the system is finally running efficiently enough to handle full power.
And that is when the 95% of dormant potential, the higher intelligence, and the soul layers begins to awaken.
It's an incredible process.
Really is. So for the listener tuning in right now, I want you to honestly evaluate your own life through this lens. Where do you feel like your battery is artificially capped?
Do you wake up tired, even after 8 hours of sleep?
Do you struggle to make clear decisions under pressure? Are you emotionally exhausted by minor setbacks?
And crucial question here, are you constantly trying to fix that deep internal exhaustion by physically exhausting your body even more at the gym?
Which brings up the central paradox of Osman's teaching.
Right.
If yoga is busy upgrading our internal operating system, managing our subtle energy, and awakening our intuition, what is taking care of the physical hardware?
Yeah, if yoga isn't exercise, won't the physical body simply deteriorate?
Which requires us to look at the other half of the equation. Because Osman is incredibly clear about this. He does not say, just sit on a mat, do yoga, and your physical body will magically be perfectly healthy and strong.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
He states that physical fitness is entirely separate, and it is desperately needed.
He outlines very specific, non-negotiable pillars of true physical fitness that you absolutely must be doing outside of your yoga practice.
He creates a strict, impenetrable boundary between the 2 domains.
The energetic work is the energetic work. The mechanical work is the mechanical work.
It is the absolute separation of church and state between the subtle energy and the physical muscles.
He breaks down the required components of physical fitness into 4 distinct categories.
Right. First up, cardiovascular exercise. And he specifies the goal here. It's to strengthen the heart muscle itself and optimize the circulatory system.
Second, strength training.
Third, stretching. But he makes a huge distinction here, doesn't he?
He does. This stretching is dedicated entirely to the physical muscles and tendons. It's not about the subtle energy like yoga postures are.
Right, it's just mechanical maintenance. And fourth, walking.
Specifically because it exercises the leg muscles, which are the largest muscle groups in the body, and act as secondary pumps for the circulatory system.
For an energy healer who spends his life exploring the bliss body and, subtle life force, his prescription for the physical body is remarkably grounded and pragmatic.
It really is.
Yeah.
He isn't offering some mystical shortcut. Go walk, go lift heavy things, go elevate your heart rate.
The physical show requires mechanical maintenance.
It really highlights the irony of the modern wellness space, doesn't it?
Oh, completely. The spiritual, blind Muslim yoga teacher is the one telling you to go hit the weights and do your cardio.
It's fantastic.
But it makes you wonder, why do we resist this separation? Why do millions of people try to smash these 2 entirely distinct needs, subtle energy harmonization and physical mechanical stress, into a single 60-minute fitness yoga class at the local gym?
Because human beings are drawn to efficiency, often to our own detriment.
We do love a hack.
We really do. We are incredibly busy. We work long hours. Our free time is so limited. So if a fitness franchise tells us we can get our spirituality, our flexibility, and a 500-calorie burn all done in one 45-minute lunch break session.
We eagerly buy into it. It feels so productive.
But Osman is arguing that this is a false economy.
How so, though? Like, physiologically speaking, why can't I just do both at the same time?
Because you are demanding fundamentally opposing actions from your nervous system.
No.
You cannot simultaneously harmonize your subtle energy and impose intense mechanical stress on your cardiovascular system. As we discussed earlier, true strength training or cardiovascular exertion requires sympathetic arousal.
Right, the mobilization of cortisol, adrenaline, blood flow to the extremities.
Exactly. And yoga requires deep parasympathetic engagement, the withdrawal of the senses, the slowing of the breath, the inward flow of energy.
So when you mix them, you neutralize the profound benefits of both.
You end up with physiological static.
That makes perfect sense. You don't get the true, deep stillness of yoga because your heart is pounding and you're sweating profusely.
And you don't get the true muscular adaptation of proper strength training because you are holding static yoga poses rather than utilizing progressive overload with weights.
You're just left with a lukewarm experience all around.
They are fundamentally different tools for fundamentally different layers of our composition. You wouldn't use a delicate tuning fork to drive a nail into a piece of wood.
Right, and you wouldn't use a heavy steel hammer to tune the strings of a grand piano.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. And Osman doesn't just leave it at theory. He gives a very specific, practical recommendation for how to structure this physical fitness routine.
He does. He says you should start with 5 to 10 minutes maximum of a warm-up and stretching sequence. Just enough to physically prep the muscles and lubricate the joints.
Not a whole hour-long yoga flow to warm up.
No, just 5 to 10 minutes. And then move directly into strength and cardio. He specifically highlights high-intensity intermittent training, or HIT, as an incredibly efficient way to combine cardiovascular work and strength training into one compact sequence.
By recommending HIT, he is pointing out a common flaw in how people approach the gym.
They silo their training too much.
Exactly. They either only jog on a treadmill, completely ignoring their skeletal muscle mass, or they only lift heavy weights, neglecting their cardiovascular endurance.
Osman is acknowledging that the physical layer, layer 1, needs robust, comprehensive mechanical maintenance.
Because a resilient heart and highly capable muscles are required to navigate the physical world, and importantly, to ground the massive energetic charge of the awakened upper layers.
That makes total sense. If your subtle energy is operating at peak capacity, but your physical hardware is weak and brittle, the system is still completely out of balance.
So the question becomes, how do we practically apply this in our own lives?
How do we honor this strict separation between yoga and fitness without feeling like we have to spend 6 hours a day working out?
Well, Osman shares a bit about his own childhood background to illustrate this point, and I found it incredibly illuminating.
His early training really grounds this entire philosophy in lived experience. He reflects on his childhood, noting that he had very strict traditional teachers when he was young who rigidly separated yoga and exercise.
They told him point blank, yoga is not exercise, exercise is separate.
And so, alongside his deep, profound yoga practice, he practiced martial arts for his physical conditioning.
He kept the two disciplines entirely distinct, practicing them at different times with different mindsets.
And if you practice yoga in the morning, then you should do your fitness in the evening. Keep that separation real.
That childhood training is just a masterclass in recognizing the yin and yang of human development. Think about what martial arts requires.
Intense external discipline.
Exactly. It demands explosive muscular exertion, cardiovascular endurance, pain tolerance, and physical toughness. It intentionally hardens the physical shell.
But it was paired with the internal, subtle energy cultivation of his yoga practice, which softens, expands, and heals the internal landscape.
Hard and soft, external and internal.
You don't blend them together into some weird, compromised hybrid.
You balance them by letting each practice be exactly what it is designed to be. You need the martial artist's discipline for the physical body and the yogi's stillness for the subtle energy.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway for you, listening right now. Perhaps you are someone who just realized you've been using your internal supercomputer to play solitaire for the last 10 years.
What do you do tomorrow morning?
I think the practical takeaway from Osman's framework is about total, unflinching honesty with yourself. If you are doing yoga, do not trick yourself into thinking you've done your physical exercise for the day.
That self-deception is exactly what keeps people trapped in power saver mode. You have to strip that away.
Right. You still need to walk. You still need to take care of your biggest muscle groups. You still need to engage in some form of strength training or a HIE session to intentionally stress your heart and muscles so they adapt and grow stronger.
Let your fitness be fitness.
Let it be sweaty, let it be mechanical, let it be physically challenging and loud.
And then, completely separate from that, let your yoga be yoga.
Let it be a quiet, internal harmonization. Let it be the dedicated tool that clears the chaotic background apps of your mind
Takes you out of power saver mode.
and reconnects you to your dormant higher intelligence.
When you stop demanding that your yoga practice burn your calories, you finally free it up to do what it was actually designed to do.
Awaken your vast, unaccessed potential.
And conversely, when you stop expecting your physical gym workout to be a profound spiritual awakening, you can actually focus on the biomechanics of building a resilient, healthy physical body.
It's a wonderfully liberating way to look at our daily routines, isn't it? We don't have to force one activity to be everything all at once. We can honor the complexity of our design.
Absolutely.
And I want to make sure we mention before we wrap up today that Osman notes at the end of his video that you can find a free 5-minute yoga and meditation program available for download.
It's a great starting point.
It is. You can find that, along with more of his resources, his contact information, and more of these incredible discussions on ancient arts applied to modern problems at his website, yogawellness786.com.
He really has a gift for taking these massive esoteric concepts and making them incredibly practical for modern life.
He provides a vital bridge between ancient energetic frameworks and our hyper-modern, stressed-out existence. By redefining the terms, he offers a clear path out of the exhaustion so many people feel.
Moving from a paradigm of just working out to a paradigm of system-wide optimization.
Exactly. It changes everything. So let's briefly recap the journey we took today. We started by confronting the massive modern misconception of yoga as just another sweaty, fat-burning workout class.
We stripped that superficial lens away to look at the true internal targets, the vagus nerve, and the vital organs.
We dove deep into the 5 layers of human composition, realizing that the physical body is merely the hardware,
Controlled by the subtle energy.
which is directed by the mind. We explored the somewhat tragic reality that most of us are completely ignoring our higher intelligence and our soul body,
Walking around on power saver mode.
desperately in need of an internal software upgrade. And finally, we accepted the hard, pragmatic truth that true health requires dedicated, entirely separate practices.
Mechanical stress for the physical body and subtle harmonization for the energy body.
Exactly. And I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about the rest of your week. Osman tells us that the mind controls our subtle energy, which in turn controls our physical body. It's a top-down chain of command.
Right.
So next time you hit a wall in the middle of your day, the next time you feel that deep, heavy physical exhaustion setting in, and you reach for another cup of coffee.
Pause and ask yourself.
Is your physical body actually tired? Have you really exerted your muscles that much today? Or is your physical exhaustion just a trailing symptom? Is your subtle energy simply waiting for your mind to close the background apps and finally take it off power saver mode?